Welcome to TheatreCast, presented by the EdReach Network, giving educators a voice, a big voice. You've reached episode number 59, being recorded June 25th, 2014. This is the show where theater teachers and professionals share their passions for theater trends, share practical advice, and tips, and ask questions of some of most theater's most innovative collaborators. I'm your host, Nick Cusumano. Unfortunately, my co-host Danielle Filas was unable to join us today, and we are coming to you live from the Thespian Festival in Lincoln, Nebraska. And kind of honored to have one of my mentors and who's taught me a lot about theater, and have been inspired by him, and also like to tease him a lot because I can now, is Jack Parkhurst.
Hi, Nick.
Jack, I met Jack his first year at Missouri State University, and those of you remember the old school name for that was Southwest Missouri State in Springfield, Missouri, way back in 1990. And Jack's first year and my first year were at the same time at Missouri State, and learned a lot about theater and building ensembles, and really hadn't heard that term till I met Jack, and just that commitment to telling the story. And can you tell us a little bit about your career, how you got started with theater? I know, it's a really long story.
I was 9 years old, and my mother made me play a butler in a community theater production in a very small town. And I was kind of hooked, I guess. Then started out teaching in high school, taught in 2 different high schools. Went on to teach in, this is my third college. One was a medium-sized university, and then Missouri State, a little larger. And then this is a small liberal arts college where I am right now. Meantime, doing all the professional work that I could get a hold of, too.
Yeah, I think. How many shows have you directed?
Oh, I have no idea. Actually, I think it's over 300 now.
I just get tired thinking 300 shows.
So do I.
Which is pretty, 300 shows, that's... After directing 300 shows, what are some truths you know about theater? What are some constants, and what are the things that is kind of like catching lightning in a bottle?
Oh, that's interesting. Great question. Truths. I don't know if there is anything that's a truth. Everything is always flexible and always changing, it seems like. However, when I was young and started out, I thought that I was good enough to make everybody I encountered in high school an actor. It took one show to prove me wrong. And so then I started realizing that I really didn't know anything, and so I went into a lot of self-teaching. 2 degrees later, a whole lot of self-teaching, and I think that's probably the given, is the continually trying to figure this craziness out, both from a teaching standpoint and an artistic standpoint. Some of the truths are some people just have it, and they're really, really good, and those are the best people you can work with. So if you can surround yourself with those types of people and then free them up to let them even be better than they are, so that they're not holding anything back, that seems to work really well. Trying to force something on people doesn't seem to me to work very well. You mentioned something else as a given. I think ensemble. I still think that. I have for years and years and years. That seems to be the most exciting theater for the audience. So I think that's a given. Professionalism, ethics, those things I think are positive givens. Other than that, it just seems to be ever changing. The specifics of theater, the styles, the different musicals, the different takes on Shakespeare, the different takes on Greek theater. I mean, you can go all over the place. So it's just really exciting because it's ever changing.
What are some of those lightning in the bottle moments? Do any come to mind?
The what moments?
Lightning in the bottle, those things where you're like, oh, well, this is just now, this time, and then it's really special, and then it's gone because that's theater. It's this time, this place, and
well, I have a story.
Story's good.
It just came up again yesterday. We were sitting in auditions down at the festival, and a gentleman came up and leaned over and said something to me about a production of Jesus Christ Superstar that I had done when I last taught in high school. That was 25, 26, 27 years ago, something like that. And my teaching partner just started to laugh. And the reason is very simply, when I did that show at the International Festival with a group of high school students that were incredibly talented but incredibly driven. And every single year since that production, it's been lightning in a bottle. Somebody has mentioned that show. Somebody. And the minute he mentioned it, Joan got on her phone and called all of our friends and said, happened again this year. What makes a show like that? That's lightning in a bottle. And I think, we just finished Les Miserables here, and the audience was on its feet applauding before we ever finished the show. And one of your students, Kamisha, just did, I think, the best Puck I have maybe ever seen. And I've seen Midsummer and directed it many times. And to watch her work, that's lightning in a bottle. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there are individual moments, and then there are the great big moments. Mm-hmm. To me, as a teacher, it's when somebody out there gets it. They might be out 5 years and then call back and say, I got it. And they're doing really, really well. So yeah, those are moments.
Yeah, I think it's those moments that help connect all the. One, it helps connect the dots, and two, it helps when you have those, you need to savor them while they're there.
Oh, yeah.
Because
they don't happen all that often.
No, I mean, working with students in educational setting, you hit some cycles and where you have really strong, like the year I did Fiddler on the Roof, to me is one of those lightning in a bottle moments that you just had. I had those really strong ladies and a great Tevye and like this one girl who was chorus, and that year it clicked. Yep. She was Golda and amazing. So it's those neat moments that you can have to connect with that where telling the stories is just that much more fun.
Right. Oh, I agree.
Can you kind of share with our audience your philosophy about building an ensemble?
I know there are principal storytellers in every story. You got the big bad wolf, you got Goldilocks, that sort of stuff. You can't have a story that talks about everybody in the universe or it doesn't go anywhere. I understand all that. But without everybody's universe participating in one single story, it's dull. It's not exciting. How does everything interact with everything else? So it's really important that every player in a show has equal importance to their own character, and then how it relates to what the author has put down as the principal storytellers. When that happens, and when it happens mostly backstage, if it can happen in a green room and happen off stage and happen at those times, it definitely happens on stage. Then there's an electricity, and it's not a false electricity like an adrenaline rush, like opening night and all that garbage. it's really legitimate as to everybody wants to participate in this story from their character's point of view. It's just unique. It's wonderful. I think that the best theater I've ever seen, London, Stratford, New York, has that quality to it. So that's kind of my philosophy about it.
Yeah, I think everyone then has a stake.
Totally.
Because if they don't, and that director's eye, which which I'm sure can drive other people crazy. Because all of a sudden someone's on stage and then someone's spacing off, and I'm like, you are not in the world. Get in the world.
Right.
If you're not going to get in the world, at least look over where you're supposed to be looking.
Or I'll hide you.
Yeah.
I'm good at hiding people.
What is your normal approach once you've chosen a script?
Well, here at this university, we do things a whole lot different in every way, shape, and form. We're quite an ensemble as a faculty. And so I don't choose a script. We start usually in the 1st of October, and we'll come up with about 50 scripts, and then we start talking, and then we hopefully announce it by the 1st of April. So that's one thing, and the basis of selecting a script is educational, as well as we have to make a lot of money. So about 50% of the shows we do are populist, and about 50% are educational based, although all shows are educational based around here, but still we have to bring in money. So we'll do 4 musicals a year. Last year, counting the short plays, we did 47 different productions. We had 157 nights of performance.
Wow.
So in the short plays, we have a really strong directing program. So the short plays really bring in all the really exciting new stuff because they're asked to do contemporary stuff. So that's really good. But we still need to bring in the Rodgers and Hammerstein and things like that. The process is once that happens and once we lay it out, then I lay it out all on a calendar so that every show gets the number of hours of rehearsal that we designate. So a non-musical, we start out with minimum of 90 hours of rehearsal time. A musical in Shakespeare, we start out with 120 hours. And then we move up from there depending on the show. If it's a chorus line, we'll give a lot more hours to dance, and so on and so forth. I lay it all out on a calendar, and we overlap rehearsals. We sometimes have 4 and 5 rehearsals going on at the same day. And we have we have several different spaces that we rehearse in, 3 performance spaces, and we use a lot of guest artists. So all of the guest artists then have to be combined into this whole program too. It's really complex. Once we do that and we do all the analysis, we come up with a vision, we decide that that's all good, then the process starts of design and so on and so forth. When casting comes around, we cast as a faculty. So if I'm doing a show, I'm doing Wedding Singer right now. So if we do Wedding Singer, we all go to the auditions, and then afterwards we all sit around as a group, as a faculty, and we cast it. And some people will say, well, she just played a role like that, so is there a different role for her so she can grow? Or somebody will say, that person has really lousy grades, so we won't use them. So we just have a long discussion about casting. And since we all get along really well, it makes it really great to compromise on that level. Once casting starts, then we decide on the rehearsal process. Some are very standard. We're going to do a 6-week rehearsal process, 4 hours a night, 5 days a week, something like that. Some are, the one we're doing right now is a 13-day rehearsal process to do Wedding Singer, 12-hour days, and they do nothing but this for 12 hours, and they come in off book, and we teach them how to do that so that they don't come in with, quote, locked-in interpretation. And then sometimes we'll, like Les Mis, we cast it in October, made it a class, and rehearsed it the entire semester, and it went up in May. So sometimes, like we're doing that with a brand new musical that a New York composer has just asked us to preview or to develop, and we're doing that. So that it's a long process. So everything depends on what we're trying to do at that time with that play.
I think great because you serve the text and whatever the text needs.
Yeah.
And fit in the schedule. Can you tell me a little bit about what Nebraska Wesleyan program, kind of its structure and strengths, you think?
When I left you in southern Missouri, you made me leave, man. No, actually,
I was gone before you left.
I was there about 5 years after you left. There were things that were just bothering me a little bit, and actually, I had thought about just staying professional. I'd been doing a lot of it by then, and just doing that, and then my alma mater as an undergraduate was Nebraska Wesleyan, and lo and behold, I was out doing a workshop for a high school here in Nebraska, of all places, and I got a phone call, and the program had sunk way low, and the provost wanted to bring it back. So they called and said they kept track of me all those years and wondered if I would be interested in taking over this program. And long story short, I came in, and it had about a dozen majors or something like that. And it was a very typical university program, 4 shows a year, that sort of stuff. But the people that they were turning out were never going to do theater in my mind, not many of them. And I'm trying to make this long story short. We assembled a bunch of professional people. One was already here, fortunately, teaching history, and he had done professional work. And then Joan came in as an acting teacher, and Mike came in. And as we assembled the people out of the professional world, we went to the professional world and said, what's the best way to do it if we want to change the program? And we all were in agreement that the best thing is hands-on, active learning opportunities. So we developed the program based on, they still have to take, if it's a BFA program, still have to take 82 hours of classes. So they still take a full component of that. But they have so many opportunities. Like I said, we have 10 to 14 major shows a year, and up to 30 or more student-directed shows a year. Our students average being in 6 shows a year, including the first-year students. Our philosophy is we want to see a first-year student get on stage right away and find out what their habits are. Some of them are really good. If they come from really good programs, from really good high school teachers, man, they can move fast, and there's no reason for us to keep them somewhere else. If they have a lot of bad habits, then we're able to work with those on a more individual basis. So that's kind of how we approach it. So it's kind of it's not a conservatory in that we don't lock people into a 4-year program, but it is a BFA 82-hour, 86 if it's musical theater program. And so, but we ask the students to do other things, like we really encourage them to go abroad for a semester or even a whole year, and then we individualize them. I'm boring you. I'm sure I am. It's just.
Well, I think, and it's such. I mean, if you're that 18, 19, 17, 18, 19-year-old student, and you want to find the program that works best for you, that has those things, and I think you all offer. Like you said, the best way to learn is through experience, and let's get them on stage, and let's get them going, and let's find out.
And they have to do everything, Nick. They have to do all the technical. They have to do the management. They have to. And what we find out, I think our best acting class is actually the directing class, where they have to direct a play. We all think that. It seems like they change dramatically after they've directed their peers in a really good way. But what we also find is that they come here as wannabe actors, and many of them leave as stage managers or something else that they have found that they love. And so we allow them that change.
Yeah, because I think, I mean, college is that time. One is, try to find out who you are, what your passions are, what your strengths are. What do you see yourself doing for the rest of your life or a while or however it works.
Yeah.
Now, I know I've been lucky that I knew I was going to be a teacher from
Yes,
like
you did.
6th grade. And I have that actor in me, but so much now my instinct is it's so much teacher or directing. I'm like,
Right.
oh, yeah, I don't act much anymore.
I don't act at all.
But it's putting those pieces in place where the fun happens.
We have a plethora of wonderful teachers out there. I worry about it, however, because it seems to be getting thinner. But our students come to us from about 16 different states, from high schools from the West Coast to the East Coast. We have a number from Texas, Wisconsin, North and South, and then around the area. And we find that the kids that we really, really, really recruit are the ones that come from really, really, really good programs where the teachers have gone on to maybe further educate themselves. Maybe they've taken other classes. It doesn't matter how you get it. It's just that if they're really pretty good, passionate teachers about the art. And we find that that's the best student that comes to us. And then we also look for the student that wants to be well-rounded. If they only want to be an actor and they have all the kinds of talent in the world, great, but go to a conservatory. We're probably not the place to come to, because we want them well-rounded when they leave here. We want them to do not just acting, but musical theater and Shakespeare and technical and the whole 9 yards.
Well, and I think part of that, you need, if you're just an actor and you're lucky enough to continue work steadily, great, but that's not always the case, and you better have some other skills to get through.
Well,
and I think you can provide for yourself better if you have those skills, because you could find things that can get you through those in-between periods instead of just waiting tables or those type of things. If you have those skills, I'm a big proponent in our program that students have to, that my favorite are the ones who do both. I want you on stage and backstage, so that you get a sense of how all the process comes together.
An appreciation for it.
And you never know where, and taking time to explore those other areas, because you might know, you might have a knack for costuming, or you might have a knack for graphic design or designing or
management, directing, all
those things.
But I do think that there are students out there that they're meant to be actors, or they're meant to be technicians, or they're meant to be designers. And there are wonderful schools out there that are meant for those students. We look for a pretty good academic student for the most part. We look for those, as well as the very, very talented person. But we really, like we were saying, we want the person that's well-rounded.
Yeah, I think it's going to provide more opportunities just to learn about theater overall. And if you have an idea of how the whole process comes together, then you see your part in that process, whether it's just whether if it's acting or technical or management or arts management. It's a whole kind of wide gambit, and it's interesting. One of my former students who we had on the show, Ted Bauman, who's the managing director of the Milwaukee Rep. And I think he was at SMA. He might have been a little bit of crossover with you, but I'm not sure.
I don't remember, but I know that some of our students have actually auditioned up there. So yeah, I know the program.
And so just that process, and I think he commented on the show that because I put him in a show, said you're going to be acting.
Yeah.
Because he was such a stage manager.
Yeah.
Very, very type A. And he appreciated the fact.
Oh, absolutely.
That I put him on stage was definitely luckily for him, it was just a one act, but it does put you in a different mode. And what you've been in the business for a while, and what accomplishments are, I'm trying to think how to phrase this correct. I know you've had some students that are out there that have been doing some really great things. Can you tell our audience about some of those? I know.
Oh my goodness.
I know it's gonna be maybe give us a call.
Okay. We have about 100 majors. About 80 of them are BFA. So we graduate about 20 every year, and of that, a high percentage go on to actually start working in the business. So we have students in the business from the entry level of hi, I'm trying to survive, all the way to Broadway, all the way to film, if they want to do film. We don't teach film here, by the way, but a lot of them will go on to it. We have a young lady in Walking Dead right now, but she started out on Broadway, or ended up. Anyway, yeah, there's a lot. I don't know. I think some of them are the students that you don't hear about. I love our stage managers that are working in New York right now, because you don't hear about those so much. You know, everybody wants to hear about the star. But I'm really proud of. We have a young lady in Florida that she just has a personality that's absolutely dynamite, and she just works constantly in 2 or 3 different theaters, and very, very proud of her. We have about 3 people in Minneapolis that are constantly working now. So all over the country we have some folks working. So I don't know. I hate to mention names or people. We did have somebody that ended up singing at the Met on a permanent contract. That we laugh about because we'd have never guessed it, but somehow he got out and did his thing. So yeah.
What is your favorite part of the theater process?
Getting rid of my obligations as a department chair and working with administration. That's my favorite part. I understand it, and we have a wonderful administration here, but my best part is when I'm directing on stage or I'm in the classroom. And those are the 2 things I like to do. And all this other management stuff that I've had to do, it's just something that has to be done, and I understand it. But my favorite part is when I'm out in the theater and we're putting something together and trying to make something happen.
What, after, 300 shows, you've seen some auditions.
I
have. What?
600 a year.
I worked, I did the scholarship auditions 1 year for EDTA, or maybe 2. And I know it's nerve-wracking for them, but on the other end, it's also exhausting on the other end, because it's an interesting situation. What words of advice for, someone auditioning for what's your best advice for auditions? Maybe a little bit on scholarship.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a little bit specialized. And just as a general rule.
I think scholarships are specialized to the university that's giving them. In our situation, to get into our BFA program, you have to have a financial scholarship. If you get the financial scholarship, you're in the BFA program. And we make it easy that way. And every school is different about the amount of money. And that really shouldn't be important to the student. And the reason I say that is because when it's all said and done and the financial package comes through, that's when the student really needs to look at it, and the parents, and say, yes, I can, or no, I can't. As far as the audition itself goes, every student that steps on stage every one of us, every auditor in the room looks up with hope in their eyes. You're just hoping that that person is phenomenal. So students should realize that we're totally on their side. It's not one, person against somebody. So everybody is very, very pro. There are things, picking the selections that best fit you, staying away from things that are overdone. Hopefully the high school teacher can help with that quite a bit. Doing something that you love, whether it's a monologue or a song, you have to do it. You have to tell the story, I think is really important. Not trying to be stupid by wearing something that's going to get all of our attention, because it does, but it's usually negative. If somebody's trying to get that much attention, don't know if you want them in the program, because if that's, you know what I mean,
oh, yeah.
It goes back to the ensemble thing. Some things they can't do anything about. If I've got 10 people that look like Nick Cusumano in the program, I'm not going to scholarship another one. I already have 10 of you. I don't need 11. Does that make sense? So some of it you can't do anything about. A look or a voice, or yesterday, 2 days ago, we saw a young man step up that, we were so positive when he stepped up on stage, but he opened his mouth and the voice to us did not come close to fitting the body. And we just looked at each other and went, it's nice, but I don't know where we would put him or how we could use him, and it's not fair to bring him into our program and not be able to use him. So do we need an ingenue? Do we need a blonde ingenue this year? Well, if that's what we need. Well, we lost Kamisha last year, so we need a sprite. We need somebody that can fill that place too, because we have positions for that in all the shows we do. So a lot of it is just, what does that university need at that time? And then everybody wants talent. All of us want to see somebody with talent. So if somebody has a lot of talent, you're going to call them back no matter what. Sometimes you look up there and you look at their transcript or you look at their credentials and you go, I see a stage manager, I see a director, I see this, so let's talk to them. So there's just so many things that go into it.
Yeah, and I think you bring up some just good points about finding a text that you can connect with.
Absolutely.
And that also, at least at at that level, you're not going to be playing an 80-year-old man when you get out in the world.
Right.
So you should pick something that's at least close to your type-ish. I mean, I wouldn't pick the super extremes maybe for.
I laugh about some of the kids that will pick something for shock value. Hi, I'm going to pick something with a lot of swear words in it, or a lot of that. And they don't understand that every auditor out there is in theater. We've heard it, we've seen it, we've directed it, we've been around it. It is not shocking. So if you're trying to shock us into remembering you, that's silly. So that stuff, no. Finding something that you can connect with, that you can absolutely tell a story with, I think that's what's most important. From my standpoint, and I don't think I'm the only one who thinks this. I think there are people that don't. But I really don't care if a girl does a guy piece or a guy does a girl piece, if they can connect with it, if they can make it work, especially singing. That doesn't matter to me. The story matters, and the truth in the story. Is there something that I can, leech onto, and that they just pull me into them, and I hear a story?
Yeah, because it's, and I don't think till you're on the auditor side that you realize how much those moments where there's that peak, or that where it pulls you in. I wish it was more.
Yeah.
and
yeah.
We want, and like you were saying, we as auditors want to see that. I want you to make my decision hard, because one, that means I have more of a talent pool to pick from, which means it's better for everyone all around. So do your best and don't wait till the last minute.
The other thing that we look at is
take the time to prep.
Yeah. Well, what does Nick tell us? In other words, there are teachers out there that we have a great deal of respect for. So if a teacher calls us and says, you know, I've got this student, I want you to look extra at this person, we will do that. The teachers that are out there that we have a lot of respect for, they know a lot more than we do. Maybe somebody doesn't audition well. We've run into that. So maybe we'll give them more time, or maybe, for instance, when they come here to visit the school, we never do cattle call auditions. A lot of people do, and that's fine, but we don't. We do all individual auditions, and they need to come here. They stay a whole day, and we get to know them. We get to put them in relaxing situations. We get to talk with them. A lot of times they come to us from teachers, and so we figure out ahead of time what's going on, and then we work with them more than we do audition them. And by working with them, we can oftentimes find out what the teacher knows. And so you guys that are out there sending students our way, you're a big part of whether a person is in our BFA or gets a scholarship or whatever. I'll bet half of our students come to us from faculty, from teachers.
Yeah, and it's always great that we can, when we come to the festival, no, that's how you got one of my students last year.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if we did a tour with Kamisha or not. I know I at least introduced her. And
you sent Kamisha here by herself. It was not during the festival.
No, she came up and did her audition, but I think she at least touched base with you all during the summer. And
she did during the summer. Yeah.
And then she started getting a sense of what type of program she wanted, and that's such a hard thing for. I know being on the parent, it's just. College is a big decision, and it's so many different factors besides just talent alone.
The thing that a lot of students don't realize is that I don't know if any particular school can get you a job. We say they can't. We say when you come to us, we're not going to get you a job. We're not going to guarantee it. We're going to provide every opportunity, from professional preparation class to the New York trip to all this other stuff. We'll provide you the opportunity, but this is for you. So a student picks a school. We don't recommend you pick it because we think that the school's name is going to get you work, because we're not sure it does.
Well, and the more I talk with people and more doing this, it's professionalism. It's doing a good job.
Yes.
Being there on time. It's being easy to work with. It's being those things that continue to get you the next job.
Totally.
Because you can be talented and you can be a jerk, and after a while, people will stop booking you because
they don't want to work with you
because it's too much hassle. And and there's times that you'll deal with that at the high school level too.
Absolutely.
And it's just like. So that's
picking a college is a hard thing to do. Money's involved, the classes are involved. In our case, we believe in experience. So if a student really wants to work hard and have a lot of chances to be on stage, that's important to us. But I think you have to look at all the schools. Yeah,
and see what is the best fit for you. And I think
a lot of some kids that we see in a year, we'll say, don't come to us, but we'll recommend other schools that are really good because they might fit that program better. I don't want somebody to come to us just as a warm body, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So the students need to go to the best fit they have. Mm-hmm. So
we're gonna wrap up fairly soon, but what are either some parting thoughts about theater, and why theater?
Why theater?
Yeah, big question. Short question, big answer.
Well, I started out as a teacher in high school. I haven't lost that passion. I have lost that passion to teach in high school. It's way too hard, way too hard. Oh my goodness. But we need incredible teachers in high school to promote the arts so that people can be discerning, thinking individuals, so that they have a chance to be creative, so that they have a chance to question things. They can play different characters that question things. They can different shows that question the world around them. We need that in high school. It starts in high school. And you're asking why theater. It's what makes somebody human. A university that has a liberal arts program makes people human, I think, because it exposes them to the world. Philosophy, religion, mathematics, science, theater, art, whatever. It's exposing. The schools that only do that teach you a trade, they're very valuable for that reason. They teach you a trade. But a university student should see the world and be able to question and to be able to think about what they're seeing, not just buy a Buick because their dad owned a Buick, but rather question a lot of things and think. And I think that's what the arts can do, especially theater. I think theater is an incredible vehicle for people being not prejudiced. I think it helps that we see so many different people and so many different things that our negative prejudices kind of go away, and we start not immediately accusing somebody of something or something like that. We want to see it from both sides. So I think theater is tremendous from that standpoint as well. I think theater can offer an insight into the human condition, an insight into what's happening, the universalities of the, sorry, it's getting heady. But yeah, why theater? Without it, we're just going to be going through life A plus B equals C, and that's not good.
No, I think it, so many times, or hearing in class, going out, I can speak from the things that you talk to us about in class, and also, it's those aha moments, like, I think the important part about theater is that universality.
Yeah.
And that mirror. I think, how can we learn from our mistakes? How can we see what it's like to walk in someone else's shoe? And I think we have to continue to hold on to that. And I think it's great that there are people out there that are continuing pushing. I'm inspired, like when we had the Overcoming Theater kids, because I can call them kids now because I'm old enough to call them kids now that but who are, taking theater to schools in the middle of Great Britain, and they're 25, 26, or, and they have that passion. So I was like, okay, theater will still be here.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I do, every now and then you get a little worried, and, because you have to put the phones down every now and then to watch real life and what's happening on there. I'm going to take a moment to thank Jack again for joining us on the show, and thank him for all the inspiration. I still use Alpha Beta to this day, so it just spreads and spreads, which is that's how I get them to be quiet quickly, which Jack taught us so many years ago. Every show, I do the circle, we connect, I do the kids all know it, tell the story, all the things that I remind them, and back and forth, and sometimes it sticks, which is always good. And just giving me those opportunities to help steer things and help organize things, because that's a skill you need as a theater teacher. And I was like, okay, I'm ready. Okay, get this in order. And now it's so ingrained, and I'm like, need to do this. But I had to do that through experience, so I appreciate those opportunities. And I'm sure it made your life slightly a little bit easier.
Absolutely.
Jack is the king of delegation.
Share the wealth.
And want to remind our listeners to watch online and see. We may have one more episode that we'll film at the festival, and pay attention. Probably the week of July 4th, we won't have a show, and we'll pick right off after that. And got some exciting guests hopefully coming up. I know I'm working on one right now who was on Broadway, and so I'm excited to bring her in, and I'll announce the name once we get the details settled. And so be sure to listen. Email us at theatrecast@edreach.us. Follow EdReach on Twitter. Be sure to listen to other shows, and we will see you next week.